Many, many years passed after the people were spread throughout the world. So many years passed that the people forgot about Yahweh. The people worshipped many things. They worshipped rocks, trees, and animals. They worshipped the sun and the moon and the stars in the sky. They made idols, statues of wood, clay, and stone, and bowed down to them. They did not worship Yahweh, who made the universe. They did not know about him. At this time, a boy lived in the city of Ur. His name was Abram. Abram was not like other people of his time. He wondered about things. He asked questions. "Where does the sun go at night?" he asked his brothers. "It goes into a cave beyond the horizon. There it sleeps until morning," they told him. "Why does the moon get smaller and smaller until at last it disappears?" he asked his mother. She answered, "A great dragon bites off a piece of the moon every night. When he eats it all, he spits it out again. Then there is a new moon." "Why do people worship statues and call them God?" he asked his father, Terah. His father scolded him. "Why do you ask so many questions? Why can't you accept things as they are?" Abram stopped asking questions, but he could not stop wondering. On Abram's street, there lived an old man who did not bow to idols. Abram decided to ask him about God. One as old as he would surely know the answer. Abram asked his neighbor, "You do not worship the idols. Whom do you worship? Which God is the true God?" The old man took Abram aside and whispered to him, "I worship the sun. The sun gives warmth and light. He is the true God." "I will worship the sun too," Abram said. Abram went into the fields outside the city. The bright sun shined overhead. Abram offered prayers to the sun. "You are the true God," Abram said. But a cloud came up and covered the sun. "The cloud is mightier than the sun," Abram thought. "The cloud must be God. I will worship him." Abram offered prayers to the cloud. But then the wind came up and blew the cloud away. "The wind must be God. I will offer my prayers to the wind." Abram started praying all over again, but then the wind died down. Abram stopped praying. He didn't know to whom to pray. He sat for the rest of the day, wondering. The sun went down. Darkness fell. The moon rose above the towers of Ur. "The moon must be God. I will worship the moon," Abram said. Night after night he offered prayers to the moon, but every night the moon grew smaller and smaller until nothing remained. "The sun is not God. The cloud is not God. The wind is not God. And the moon is not God either. Where is the true God, the one who made all these things?" Then Abram heard a still, small voice speaking within his heart. "I am Yahweh, King of the universe. I made heaven and earth and all living things. If you are the true God, why do people worship the sun and the moon? Why do they bow down to idols?" "It is because they do not know who I am," the voice answered. "How will they come to know you?" Abram said. The voice answered, "You will teach them." Abram listened to the voice within his heart. As his understanding grew, he had less and less patience for those who worshipped idols. Abram's father, Terah, was an idol maker. He carved idols out of wood and stone. He molded them out of clay. He made big idols and little idols, old idols and young idols, idols in the shape of men, women, and animals. Abram had once enjoyed helping his father. It thrilled him to see the figures emerge from wood and stone. He loved molding the wet clay into different shapes. Now his joy fled. His skill left his hands. He dropped the clay figures as he took them from the kiln. His chisel slipped as he carved wood or stone, cutting off a figure's nose and ruining a week's work. Exasperated by Abram's clumsiness, Terah banished him from the workroom. Abram spent his days in the shop selling idols to the people who came by. One day, Terah said to his son, "I must go to the palace to talk to King Nimrod about the new idols he ordered. Mind the shop while I am gone. Try not to be clumsy. I can't afford to lose any more idols." Abram promised to do his best. Soon after Terah left, an old man entered the shop. "I want to buy an idol," he said to Abram. "What kind do you want?" Abram asked. "A smart one," the old man answered. "I am faced with difficult problems that I don't know how to solve. I need help. I need an idol filled with wisdom." "Do you see any here that look wise?" Abram asked. The old man pointed to an idol on the top shelf. "That one. His long beard makes him look very wise. He'll have the wisdom I need." Abram took the idol down from the shelf and set it on the counter. "How old are you?" Abram asked his customer. The old man replied, "I am 87 years old." "Would you ask a week-old baby for advice?" "Certainly not," the old man said. "Well, that idol may have a beard, but he is only a week old," Abram told him. "I made that idol. Before I molded him, he was only a lump of clay. How can a week-old lump of clay know anything?" The old man left the shop, sputtering with anger. Abram put the idol back on the shelf. Soon afterward, a woman came in. Her face was red. She looked frightened. "Quick," she cried to Abram. "I need idols, big, strong ones. Thieves broke into my house. They took everything, even my idols. I'm afraid to go home without new idols to protect me." Abram laughed. "You say the thieves stole your idols. If the idols could not protect themselves, how can they possibly protect you?" The woman stormed off without answering. Abram looked around at the idols in the shop, from the little ones on the shelves to the big one sitting beside the door. "What stupid things you are! You have eyes, but you cannot see. You have lips, but you cannot speak. You have ears, but you cannot hear. Everyone who believes you will become like you." The more Abram thought about the idols, the angrier he became. It was wrong for people to worship idols. It was even more wrong for his father to make them. Abram could not contain his anger. He took his father's hammer and went around the shop, smashing the idols to bits. He smashed the big ones and the little ones, the wooden ones and the stone ones, and the clay ones. He smashed them all, except the big idol sitting beside the door. Abram put the hammer in the big idol's hand. Then he went down the street to the baker's shop, where he bought a large basket filled with bread and cakes. He placed the basket on the idol's lap and sat down to wait for his father's return. "My shop! My idols!" Terah cried when he saw the wreckage. He turned to Abram. "Tell me what happened." "Oh, Father, I am so glad you are home. It was terrible," Abram said. "Did robbers attack you? Speak." "It was worse than that, Father. When the time came for the noonday meal, I asked the idols what they wanted to eat. They told me to get something from the baker's shop. I brought back a basket of bread and cakes. The moment I came through the door, all the idols began pushing and shouting. They snatched the basket from my hands and started fighting over it. The big idol who sits by the door lost his temper. He grabbed your hammer and smashed the other idols to bits. Then he took the whole basket of bread and cakes for himself. There it is on his lap." Terah stared at the idol by the door. Sure enough, it sat with the basket of cakes on its lap and the hammer clutched in its hand. Terah turned to Abram. "Have you lost your wits? Since when do idols eat? Since when do they quarrel? I made these idols out of wood, clay, and stone. They cannot move unless I move them." "Then why worship them?" Abram asked. "Why make them, Father, so that they can be worshipped?" Fear replaced anger in Terah's face. "You must not speak this way, Abram. All who refuse to worship the gods of the city are severely punished." "I cannot help myself, Father," Abram said. "I know there is only one God, the God who made all creation. He alone I will worship."